Welcome to another episode of Alohomora, the fandom's original Harry Potter book club. I'm Asher Chelder.
I'm Josh Cook.
And I'm Kat Miller, and continuing our summer celebration of having community members on the show, we have a fantastic guest today, Brett Ball, aka Brett's.Thoughts on Instagram. Hey, Brett.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Tell our listeners who, may not know you for some reason, a little bit about yourself, your Harry Potter story, all that jazz.
Yeah, I make TikTok, Instagram, YouTube content about nerd culture stuff, predominantly Harry Potter. I'll talk about fan theories. I'll host quizzes with other members of the fandom. Also dabbling in things like Doctor Who and Lord of the Rings as well, but predominantly Harry Potter.
That's great. How did you get into Harry Potter?
I feel like I'm the staple age of people who just grew up with it. Like, I remember in primary school, our assigned book was The Philosopher's Stone, and just growing up and the movies coming out as I sort of aged up with the cast. So it was just always in and around me, and it resonated. I took an interest, and it's sort of become the thing that I know the most about of anything. Not more than anyone else. Just I know more about it than I know about other things. You know.
I understand that feeling. It's a very niche thing to be an expert in. I get
it.
I totally get it. What's your house?
Slytherin.
Awesome.
Nice.
A lot of people tell me I'm a Hufflepuff, but I took the tests when I was younger, and you can't get resorted, right? So while I may exhibit more Hufflepuff traits as I get older, I'm sticking with the original, and because it's become too much of a part of my identity. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything behind me is Slytherin.
I do. I like it. We like Slytherins around here, so zero prejudice on this podcast.
Love that.
Cool. Well, welcome. We're super excited to have you here for
I like
today's
seeing people
episode.
embrace it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll embrace it. But like the Slughorn type of Slytherin, not like the school bully type, you know?
No, of course. Not the stereotypical Harry Potter book Slytherin. We got you.
Exactly.
We got you.
Speaking of Harry Potter books, today's chapter is Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 20, The Dementor's Kiss. The original episode number and date was episode 32, titled Harry's First Kiss with... First Kiss? Okay, that's the whole thing. Okay, sorry. Titled Harry's First... I was starting to Harry's First Kiss with what? And I got really confused. Titled Harry's First Kiss, with hosts Caleb, Eric, and Rosie. And they discuss the chapter along with special guests John and Alyssa from MuggleNet's now defunct podcast, Audio Fictions, and this was from May 25th, 2013.
That's so long ago.
Hardly nothing.
Well, let's jump into today's remarkably short chapter.
Yeah.
Remarkably
gagged.
short. Yeah, with a little chapter summary. Having learned the truth about Sirius and Lupin and Pettigrew, the ragtag group of misfits head back up to the castle, but oh no, a cloud shifts and Lupin's lycanthropy is suddenly a huge issue. Lupin transforms, followed by Sirius, then by Pettigrew. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are stuck, frozen, sort of paralyzed by, having absolutely no idea what to do. Finally, Harry hears a cry and realizes that Sirius is in trouble. They head to find him, discover that Sirius is covered in Dementors trying to kiss him, and Harry and Hermione eventually succumb as well, but not before Harry sees... What is that? We don't get to find out, but yeah.
What or who is that?
Yes, indeed. So yeah, as I mentioned, this chapter is 12 minutes on the audiobook.
That's insane.
Do we think it is a successful chapter given how short it is? Like, does it need anything else? Or could it have been combined anywhere?
Nothing happens. It's like both filler and also important at the same time. It's very weird. It's very multifaceted.
It's a very bridge chapter. It goes from the Shrieking Shack, all of that action, to this is kind of a lull. You see some action take place, but it's the bridge heading over to, hey, how are we going to end this book?
Yeah, I get that. Well, sort of as I alluded to, it's a sort of a group of misfits, and I love that Harry even points that out in his thoughts. It says Harry had never been part of a stranger group, And I love that.
Yeah, there's a cat that's the leader of everything.
I mean, aren't cats always the leaders, though?
I think that cats make the rules. I can't say that the cat has ever been the leader, but if you're making the rules, I guess you are leading.
Crookshanks is like the
I
MVP
suppose.
of this whole book, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So we know that Crookshanks is half Kneazle, right? And that's why he's so intelligent. What sort of powers, I'm using powers, air quotes, do we think he has beyond being able to understand humans? He doesn't really seem extra magical other than the fact that he can understand human speech and act on it.
There's like a grasp of truth, right? With Kneazles, like like in legend, is that I think that's a thing with Kneazles. They have a grasp of what is the truth, which I suppose is why Crookshanks just is inclined to believe and trust Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
I also have always kind of like associated Crookshanks as like similar to the cat from Coraline, if anyone understands. Like in the other world, it has like significant intelligence and like ability to speak, and like can kind of like not teleport, but like sneakily phase in and out. I kind of imagine Crookshanks kind of like popping like in and out, like kind of like the kind of way like how a cat like disappears, but like more magically, I guess, in this aspect. That's always kind of how like that was like they always were kind of one and the same in my head. So that's my association.
As far as Crookshanks' abilities, for me, it all depends on how he knew about Pettigrew. Like it seems like he always knew that something was up with the rat. Like something just wasn't right. So if he never saw Peter transform or de-transform, then I think that would mean that Crookshanks has some type of like extrasensory ability to like feel magic, kind of like Dumbledore is in the lake, where like magic always leaves a spot or magic always leaves a trace. Where Crookshanks knows something magical is happening with that rat, and it's not right. But the other part is if he doesn't have that, then he probably just saw Peter transform and de-transform it, transform and de-transform, transform one way or transform the other way in the dorm room. So I like the idea that Crookshanks doesn't actually have any extra abilities, but it's just that he was in the boys' dormitory and he just saw Peter hanging out on Ron's bed one day.
Oh my God! Do you
And then
think
it was
he
like,
did
oh,
that?
and then he turned
No
back
way,
into a rat.
Peter did
That's
that.
how he
That's
knew.
way too risky, right?
Oh, he
Can
has
you
to have a
imagine
wand.
just like Dean and Seamus coming back up to the dorm, and like Peter's just there on Ron's bed, just like having a nap.
That wild. I mean, how old are the Marauders now? They're in their
30s.
30s. Yeah, I think.
Well, it's like that circulating thing about like why did they not see Peter Pettigrew on the Marauders map, like sleeping
Yeah.
That's old
next to
news.
Ron, I guess. No, but like that's always what I think of. I'm like, like that's again, it's like, when you think about it really too deeply, and I don't. It's you try not to think about that aspect of it.
That was an oversight.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, So when we first meet Crookshanks, when they are in the magical menagerie, he immediately, like pretty immediately, jumps on Scabbers, right? Because that's when Ron loses him and they have to go find him, right? I'm remembering that correctly. So I feel like it has to be some sort of BS meter, for lack of a better.
Can we argue
term.
it's like how animals can sense like the supernatural, like how like if your dog is barking at a random spot in the room for a prolonged period of time, people say like could be linked to the presence of a spirit kind of thing. How like they have like kind of more of a in tuneness to like spiritual aspects.
Yeah, there's nothing I hate more than when I'm sitting on the couch with my cats and all of a sudden they both turn and go. And I'm afraid to look because I'm like, is an axe murderer there gonna kill me?
It makes
It's
you
terrifying.
Come into play in a world where ghosts are like commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, like we don't see Crookshanks going after nearly headless Nick in the same way. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I meant like ghosts literally in this circumstance because obviously they're also a lot more like animate than our version of what we consider to be
Sure.
supernatural.
So sort of like Josh was saying that like magic leaves a trace, and if there's
Exactly.
more
Yeah.
powerful magic happening, Crookshanks can sort of sense that. And I would argue that someone being an animagus secretly would be a that would leave a pretty big magical footprint.
Yeah.
I would
wonder if it has
assume.
like a smell or something like
I mean-
prolonged use like has like a smell to it that animals
Yeah.
can smell. That would be like wild.
Well,
Wow.
we know that animals can sense like when like tsunamis are coming and earthquakes and that kind of stuff.
Can
So
it really?
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh wow!
Same way they can sense seizures.
Yeah, that one
I
I
did
knew.
not know that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like then if you take a magical Kneasel and mix it with a cat that already has a heightened sense of, I guess, sensory, you would imagine that they would be able to sense magic even if it's small enough emitted through an animagus.
That makes sense. So then, do we think that when the Marauders transform, do they then have a heightened sense? Do they take on all of those animal? Obviously, they take on the animal characteristics, but would they be able to feel the tsunami and things? Or is it just the shell? I know we've talked about animagus many times, but yeah, is it just like the shell of the person that changes? Because we know they keep their intelligence, obviously, with the exception of Lupin.
I think they must change. Like, obviously, you're right. Being an animagus and being a werewolf are obviously completely different. But like, Lupin, like, falls prey to the instincts of the wolf, like, immediately, right, and just is going to hunt whoever and whatever. And so, if we're talking about like instincts, surely that comes from like your genetic makeup, just the way that your body functions without like rationalizing anything. So, if we put that onto the animagus, I imagine it will be the sense of smell, sensing, I don't know, the change in pressure of a tsunami, whatever it is. I feel like that's all just going to be part and parcel of the same. That would be my assumption anyway. And if I were going to go through that rigorous process of becoming an animagus and I didn't get those heightened senses, I'd be annoyed. I'd be so annoyed that I'd gone through all of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it.